working around the car, you can see there is some blemishes here and there. There's like a little dent there, bit of a chipper there. This door at some point had been repainted, but big spider crack in the bumper, just as big or bigger spider crack in the bumper there. Then you get to here, it's got a little bit of a wound on the dog leg. And then moving on to the next door, bit of a scratch here. You can see it's pretty big. Some of the paint came off. And then the next door also seems to have like a tech deck skateboard half pipe in it. So that's another issue of concern. And it carries on to the front fender as well. Yeah, not as straight as she should be. Welcome back to part 2 on the JDM STI here. So I have already begun a little bit of work in preparation for the full repaint. I've been going around and tuning up all the dents before we can get it into filler primer. So for this guy here, this is quite a dent. I'm gonna have to take this down to bare metal to fix it up. So I got the bumper off to do that. Did you know that JDMs do not have a rear bumper beam? They just have a bumper holder bracket. Pretty wild, kind of scary. So on this side, our domestic doors needed a lot more work than the JDM doors. They got all sorts of domestic dings on them, and our domestic JDM fender all tuned up. As far as I can see, I currently don't see any dents on the hood, but again, we're gonna get this whole car in filler primer, block it out to see if we can find anything else we need to fix. So I'm gonna jump into repairing this little spot here. Then the bumper itself, I would like to use the original bumper. The JDMs versus the domestics are actually different in the license plate area. The JDM has the flip up license plate bracket and a bigger hole here. The plate actually bolts onto the bracket rather than the bumper itself. And then I've got my big, huge, mega spider cracks to fix. Lastly, our tweaked B-pillar. Currently, I'm having a hard time finding a frame shop willing to do it, so I may have to get a little creative on that and DIY it. So we'll see how that works out. So in this part, I'm gonna get everything done, get the car into filler primer, get it blocked out. All right, I think we got this guy dealt with here. I was able to maneuver it a bit, get it straight. It was a very minor dent, but now I got some filler on it, so a little bit of sanding to go and we should be good there. Then on the other side of the car, I figured I would start small and try and rectify this rather than replace the dog leg, which is always best to keep the original panel on. So I'm gonna try and put a stud there, pull it up, then I'm gonna try one there and pull it up. Then in here, I probably need a couple, pull it out and get it straight, and that should be just about it. I'm hoping when this pulls up, it pulls this, which is bulged out, over a little bit, and if not, I'm sure I can maneuver it with my hammer. Should be able to get it pretty close, and then a little skim of filler there, and we should be set. Alright, we were able to get it, for the most part, back in place. Got some perforations here and there from the spot weld. So now what I'm going to do is sand the rest of the area around it, get some etch primer on it to start, because we got some bare metal here. And then I can move into a skim of filler, and this should be totally mint. Off-camera action on the JDM STI here. Normally a bumper in this condition I would have replaced, but this is a JDM specific, having the big opening for the flip up plate. The damage it had was just some really bad spider cracking. So we're not all the way through the spider cracking yet, but we will make our way there. I've gone around and done like a basic prep sand on the car, getting it ready for filler primer. We still have a bunch of accessories to remove and sand where they would place, but that is still some progress. So I guess next step here, we'll get off the accessories, anything that needs to be sanded, like, you know, mirrors and stuff like that, door handles and whatever, get that all off. All this trim so we can sand in there. We're gonna paint all inside the jams as well. Even though it's gonna be the same color, I just want it to be seamless more or less, so that is the goal there. And then yeah, still a bit more prep sanding overall on the big panels to go. So we have from the fenders back now all lined up really well without extreme intervention. There was obviously some extreme hammering. Right now we're working on pulling some of these little dents out now that we've pulled the pillar out. Door lines up really well. Really nice gaps from the front to the back, and I'd say this is ready for the final bit of body work in this pillar section here, which for the most part we've dollied what we could, the best we could, and I'll probably put another pin there to pull that guy out, another pin there, that's a little low, and then this little tiny valley from the kink as well. Probably a couple pins in there, pull that out, smooth it out, and I think we're probably ready for primer. With the STI in the booth now, we are ready to give it a good wipe down, begin the masking, and I'm gonna try and prime everything I need to prime today in the booth. I'm not gonna be putting on this rear door just because I want to have access to get this pillar because the work that was done on it. But in this space here, I should be able to fit the front and rear bumper along with that door as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all wiped down, then get into my masking. All right, here we are. Wow, it is 6:10 p.m. I started this at 8 a.m. and I've kind of masked it in a way that I can maximize my session here and get everything all in one shot. So it's kind of like double mask. Pretty much almost the same process of doing a near assembled color change on a car. This door I left off, I'm doing it on the rack just because I want to be able to really get this pillar where we did the work. This fender, it is the donor fender. It's got some, you know, rust we had to take care of down there. So again, I wanted to be able to get really well in there. Silver door, bumpers, other door. Then lastly here, I'm gonna wet my floor down, rip over the car with a tack cloth, and get to priming. And I might be under 13 hours today. That'd be amazing. But this is typically, I would do all of this in 3 sessions in the booth. So doing it in 1 session really ups my productivity. So here we go. you have it. I was able to successfully do this. Holy, was this tight. Like, I only showed you guys the first coat. I did 2 coats. I was more or less like crawling underneath of the bumpers to get to and from areas I needed to. It does look great. The bodywork looks great. Look at that pillar. The fender up here, which this is the donor fender, so I was able to get both sides of it because this spent some time on a domestic. It was starting to get some rust in there, some surface rust, so it was all knocked down, epoxied all up in there, and now she will be sealed. I mean, like, this was tight. This is not ideal, but it worked. No incidents. Happy about that. So now I'm going to unmask the car and move it over to the other side. Now with the STI all blocked and all ready, we are about to lay some paint on this. Super exciting.